Game. Over 19,000 fans packed the Garden, and you could feel the historical significance and the gratitude all the way to the rafters. The Sun claimed home court and, in fact, brought their own with them. But actually playing here in Boston's legendary Garden for the first time ever was lost on no one.
It felt great. It felt like
And court is in session on a Wednesday, August 21st. Welcome in, Ryan in Sacktown with you. Going to be here for about 90 minutes. Got a full show to talk about. We're brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com to learn more about their other locations and their specials. I'm not going to go all over them right now. You guys know them by heart at this point, but get out there. Grant and I are going to be out Bennett's many times over the next couple weeks. So come say hi and make sure you go and check them out. So where do we start? There's a lot going on. I say that every single day. Every day. Bane, my man. See, they do the work for me, Bane. I get to rest my voice. I let the Bud guys do it for me. What's up, Bane? Big news, by the way, here in the King's Court. I'm going to keep announcing this throughout the show, but we hit 1,000 followers on the X platform. You know what that means? I said it was going to trigger a couple of announcements. The first is this. Tomorrow, you will have your shot. Tomorrow, King's Court, 2 o'clock, Thursday, we are giving away a signed Malik Monk jersey. Do you want one of those hanging in your closet, hanging on your wall? You best not wear the jersey. Don't wear a signed jersey. I mean, the only time it's okay to wear a signed jersey is if it just got signed while you're wearing it. But if you get one signed, do something with it. You know what I'm saying? So tomorrow, you will have your chance. You're going to have to earn it. One of you will win a signed Malik Monk jersey, compliments of True Sports Cards and Collectibles out in Rockland. So we will do that tomorrow. Looking forward to that very much. 8 o'clock tonight, we will be back as we always are during the weeknights. Grant and I will definitely be doing another show, Open Forum Wednesday. Would love to have you join us. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. We're starting to turn the page from summer to fall. Kids are going back to school. But if you got a few extra minutes, hop in. It's usually a fun show. You never know where it's going to go. We've talked a lot in the last couple days about college athletics and amateurism. And last night, we talked a great deal about the changing norms in society, or not so much society, but more in the sports world. about how kids are coached these days. We didn't even get into the entire participation trophy conversation. We didn't even touch that one. We left it alone. But just coaching, how much different it is. And it was really based off of the Tua Brian Flores situation. So if you want to hear more about that and hear us get into some of the differences, we talk about the great Bobby Knight. Grant talks about some of his experiences playing college lacrosse, being around pro athletics for as much as he has. Myself talked about college basketball. If you don't know, I was a practice player at San Diego State, so I certainly was around the program for many years. So anyways, it's a good conversation about all the different ways that many of us came up with coaches versus how kids are coached these days. So we heard at the top of the show some audio from last night's WNBA game, the Connecticut Sun and the Los Angeles Sparks. They sold out the Boston Garden. And I found that piece very interesting for this one reason. The reporter's like, everybody knows about it. Well, not really. In fact, one of the members of the Connecticut Sun took exception to the WNBA and how that game was marketed. Think about this for a second. A WNBA game sold out the Boston Garden. That's 19,000 people, and you didn't have Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, those players in the game. And we could make a bigger conversation out of Caitlin Clark partially being the reason the WNBA is having this resurgence. I think a large part of it's more of the storylines where fans have been able to follow the drama that went on between Reese and Clark in college and then followed it into the pros. But one thing's for sure, the WNBA has never, think about this, in the WNBA's entire existence, they have never been profitable. Never, not once. This year, they are not on track to be profitable. And so, as I said, one player for the Connecticut Sun took exception to this. Let me play the clip for you right now. She went to social media, Dejanay Carrington. She went to social media before the game, and after the game, she ripped into the WNBA. And I can't say that I blame her. Why was that game not on national TV? Why was there not more put into that? Here is what she had to say.
And I feel like Connecticut as a franchise is historically disrespected. So sometimes, you know, if you want something, you got to go out there and do it yourself. So that's what I did for us. I think that there could have been a lot more publicity or promo from the top. You know, Connecticut had announced that we were having this game probably almost a year ago, maybe. I don't know. Sometime right after last season. So there was ample time to do what needed to be done. But it didn't matter anyway, because they showed up and it was sold out. We got the dub. So I guess my tweet worked.
So she's talking about Connecticut being a little disrespected in the WNBA. Dejanay, you know this, right? You're a small market team. You're the Connecticut Sun. You usually play out of the Mohegan Sun Arena. That's all small market teams. But with the WNBA in this resurgence, really the question becomes, can this become something that is going to be here for the long stay? Can they become profitable? They just signed their new TV rights deal, which is a fraction of what the NBA is going to be earning, and rightfully so. It should not be the same amount as the NBA. So who knows? Maybe the TV networks are going to end up getting a really good deal out of it. But then there's this bigger conversation with the WNBA. And don't worry, I'm not going all WNBA today. We're going to wrap this up in a couple minutes. In fact, we're going to go back and revisit the CrossFit Games. We've got a couple of updates from that, including a article that was released by one of the top competitors in CrossFit. And I really want to have a deeper discussion because this is a bigger deal than we really think it is. And Dorian came on to the show last week and gave us some great context into that. But I want to read the article that Brett Fikowski wrote. It's actually pretty strong. And on top of that, his actions that he has come along with some other athletes come together to challenge CrossFit, which was going on long before the death of Lazar Dukic. Anyways, getting back to the WNBA story, there's a lot of people saying that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is somewhat a mini version of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. What? I'm not ready to go there yet. I don't think you can even compare the two. Look at where we're at today as a society compared to where we were back then. And sure, there's an argument that things still, we know things are not perfect. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. But at the end of the day, can we slow our roll? Were either of those players, Caitlin Clark, arguably the last year of her college career, she was on every television set when she was playing. I get that, but leading up to that, really not a lot. You didn't see a ton of college women's basketball on TV. And I know the NBA was trying to hit a resurgence right around that point. The NBA was close to possibly going insolvent. That's when Jerry Buss bought the Lakers. He chooses to get Irving Johnson over Larry Bird. But these are completely different situations. In fact, I think it's a little bit disrespectful to the NBA to try to compare the two. And it has nothing to do with the fact that we are dealing with men and women, and it has everything to do with where the leagues are at and where the franchises were at. Those were the two storied franchises in basketball at the time. These are two small market franchises that these two players are playing for. And so they're just not the amount of attention on it. And quite frankly, I think it needs to be its own thing. Why does it have to be a rerun of another rivalry? Why does somebody have to be the next Michael Jordan? Why can't they just be the only LeBron James? You get my drift. So that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But the fact that they sold out the Boston Garden is a great sign for the WNBA. And it's not the first time the WNBA has taken some criticism from its players. You've heard about some of the travel nightmares that they have gone through in the past. Just until this year, teams were not on chartered flights in the WNBA. They were flying commercial because, like I said, the league, not insolvent, but they were not making money. These franchises are not big money makers like your Dallas Cowboys, like your big boys in the big leagues. Now, could it get there? I sure as hell hope so. There is some great basketball that's played in the WNBA. I enjoy watching it. For any of us that don't dunk, it's really nice to watch a game that doesn't always include dunking. There is a little bit more strategy when you are playing under the rim as opposed to above it. But at that same time, they need to grow. And if you want to knock one thing at the end of the day, it's this. I don't think the WNBA was ready for the amount of attention they were going to have this season. And the fact that they could not foresee that, I don't understand. I don't know who is running that league. I don't know what they are looking at. You had the biggest and most hyped player coming out of college into the WNBA. And on top of that, you were involved in the three-point shootout at NBA All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis. Arguably, what was supposed to be one of the biggest All-Star weekends of all time, which flopped on its face in terms of the All-Star game. Y'all remember Adam Silver's reaction at the All-Star game. Well, I guess you won the most points. So, yeah, here's the trophy. So the All-Star game will always be an exhibition, but the fact that they are trying to integrate the leagues, Sabrina Ionescu, many other players that have been in that league that are very, very big names in basketball, Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo, Ruthie Bolton, Holyfield for here in Sacramento, Kara Lawson here in Sacramento. I could go on for days. So let this thing grow. Make just the most logical decisions, the decisions that are right in front of you. If you could throw on and flex a game from Vegas, you could definitely put something together in Boston. First time for that franchise playing in the Boston Garden. Think about that. And that's another reason why I'm telling you the Bird and Magic situation, much different. Look what we're talking about. The Boston Garden. It's their first time playing there. So it's their first time on the big stage, but credit to them. The Sun end up pulling out the win last night, 69-61. It'll be interesting to see if the WNBA responds with any type of discipline. All right, let's get back to the chat. We've talked a lot of college football, by the way, this week. I do want to throw this in really quick after we go through the chat, because it is certainly funny that Mike Gundy has his program doing what they are going to do. And yes, if you are just joining us right now, I am Ryan in Sacktown. This is the King's Court on If You Don't Like That. We are giving away, we've hit 1,000 followers on the X tomorrow. You must be here for your shot to win a signed Malik Monk jersey. We'll be giving it away tomorrow at 2 p.m. You got to be present to win. And we are going to do a little bit of a contest. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. And I see some of you giving me some ideas. So, dude, my fly's down, Bane. Oh my gosh. Too bad I'm wearing workout shorts, brother. Let's see. Adam, I need that Monk. Dude, you got enough wrestling stuff on your wall, Adam. You know what Adam's response was? I could hear him all the way in Texas. He went, Adam's got some obscure wrestling memorabilia. Didn't you have like a piece of the ring on your wall, Adam? Or like something with a title? Let me know, Adam. Dial me in, my man. Bane, I know you'll get to it, but thoughts on the Monk giveaway? Ultra spicy food related. No. We are not pulling. This is a quality broadcast. This is a broadcast that I take pride in producing, pulling sound clips, making sure you have good visuals, good audio, good content. Unlike other shows that sometimes just bring people on to eat spicy food to ultimately have a reversal in fortune, not a real man of genius behind that broadcast. I can promise you that. Adam, no. Okay, we're heading down the wrong path, everybody. 12 by 12 live challenge. No, we are not putting anybody's safety at risk for this challenge tomorrow. Alberto agrees with me. Bane, don't egg Adam on, please. No. We're not doing it. I don't know what you're talking about, Bane. I was just talking about broadcasts that bring people on with sensational, crazy stunts and stuff all over the screen. Those just, I don't get those. I really don't. Adam, hopping back in. I wish I had a piece of the ring. It's a bunch of crap I got from Flaming Lips concert. Who the hell are the Flaming Lips? I've never heard of the Flaming Lips. I have a question actually for all you before we keep going with the show. You're usually in one camp or the other camp. Are you in the camp where you buy the extended warranty? I need to know who is warranty person and who isn't warranty person. My wife happens to be not warranty person usually, but she did get a warranty on her car, which pays for oil changes for the lifetime of the car. But then the dealership changed the rules and it just it went down all the same paths of all the stuff you think about being a hassle if you buy a warranty. And I had to deal with that this morning. So where do you land on those? Do you guys get the extended warranties? Is it a waste of money? Everybody kind of has their own opinion when it comes to that. And then again, remember, Grant and I are back at 8 o'clock tonight. We're looking forward to that. So, as a quick update to the Oklahoma State Cowboys, remember, Mike Gundy says, hey, we're done negotiating. NIL is over. Transfer portal is over. It's time to play football. We talked yesterday about Alabama hiring a general manager, basically a paid person on the staff to handle the recruiting. Now, the recruiting piece I get. Recruiting is much more difficult than a lot of people realize. And I'm talking even pre-NIL days. Recruiting is it's a 365 day a year process. While you're in the season, coaches are going out on the road and recruiting and coaching at the same time. But really, Alabama brought them in to handle the NIL. Alabama brought them in to handle the boosters. So again, I talk about college sports always getting closer and closer and closer to pro sports. And you hear the GM thing and you're like, all right, here we go. Well, then there's a 9th-year senior that's got approved for eligibility by the ACC. And I found that interesting, not for the 9th year, but for the fact that the ACC conference approved his eligibility. Isn't that usually the NCAA? So again, I ask, what the hell is the NCAA there for? So I digress. Mike Gundy and the Oklahoma State Cowboys announced yesterday that they will be wearing QR codes, just like the one at the top left corner of the screen where you can call the show, QR codes that will allow you to donate money directly to the school's NIL funds. So the players are walking, talking, playing billboards. That is what they are. Now, granted, how the hell are you going to capture that QR code from TV or even in person at the game unless you're right there standing next to a player? I forget, somebody said that when we talked about it on the 8 o'clock show. They're exactly right. Maybe it was Corn Dog that said that. But what's next? I mean, really, what's next? Are we going to have auctions where you can win a date with the quarterback of the football team? Or maybe you can get the kicker, much like Kramer. Maybe he'll go for the most. I don't know. It's getting a little bit out of hand. And literally, the NCAA, it's going like this. They don't even know how to keep up with this because the NCAA never anticipated nor wanted this to happen. And now you've got the federal government all over the NCAA, as they should. I think the NCAA has violated a ton of the antitrust laws that are in effect. Speaking of antitrust laws, Sunday Ticket, anybody looking forward to getting that money back from NFL Sunday Ticket? Well, it's not going to happen. The judge, and this was the most obscure thing to me. Remember, the jury heard testimony and awarded a judgment for the plaintiffs in the antitrust lawsuit against NFL Sunday Ticket. And then the judge at the last second said, no, I am going to overrule the jury. Well, yesterday, the judge came back and decided formally not to issue the order that the jury had settled on. And the reason that the judge gave for it was that the testimony was not sufficient. So you're telling me a judge who sat there and allowed each side to present an expert witness in his or her courtroom. He sat there through the entire testimony of these expert witnesses and let it go on, let the jury make a decision, gave the case to the jury, and then decided that the jury could not make a decision because the testimony was not, I don't, credible is not the right word, but the testimony, it would not have been a good judgment based upon the expert witnesses that each side had. So, uh, the NFL, holy crap. If you are the NFL, you are jumping up and down, like jumping up and down, running around the room. You just found an extra $20 in your pocket. But how that happens in the entire process of what this judge did, it's unthinkable. And that's from somebody that comes from a legal background. Like, I can't even begin to explain it, but here's where we stand. The order is not being issued. So the plaintiffs have a couple of options. The first option for the plaintiffs is this: they can ask the judge, file a request for reconsideration. My guess is no point of doing that. I don't think the judge is going to reconsider anything. Then their other recourse would be a 30-day, or they have 30 days, I should say, to petition for an appeal. Then it would be likely a 12-month waiting period until a higher court could review the judge's decision. So if you were hoping that your Sunday ticket this year would be paid for from this settlement, not gonna happen. So, all right, warranties. Let's get back to this warranty. I don't even read the manual. Well, Adam, two separate things. Two separate things, my man. You know how they hit you up, dude? Like, let's say you're getting your iPhone, right? Or maybe you're getting a TV. You're checking out and they're like, oh, do you want the 3-year warranty on the TV extended? You know, it's only like $200. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You don't have to read anything, Adam. It's a yes or no question. Come on, Adam. No, I'm just kidding, buddy. Giving you a hard time. Bane, I'm basically never. You may need it, and they find some way to screw you over. They always do, right? And that was the thing with the oil change this morning. I'm just like, because the dealership changed ownership, which voided the agreement and it decreased what the value of the contract was. And you know me, I was like ready to pounce on it. I'm like ready to talk to this guy about it. But yeah, I'm not warranty guy either. I bought insurance on my, you got insurance on your sunglasses. Interesting. Adam, do you have the old school like Jose Canseco Oakleys? You know, the big stunner shades, Adam? You know, like, I've got a group of friends, and you have to be, in fact, the group of friends that I'm going to be getting together with, you have to be inducted into the group. And there's one thing that inducts you into the group. Yep, that's right. It's the Pit Vipers. So, Adam, do you got the Vipers? Did you get your insurance plan on those? Alberto hopping back in. Sunday ticket is $700 a year. It's ridiculous. It is getting really ridiculous for Sunday ticket. You know what I learned, Alberto? We had Sunday ticket for pretty much as long as I can remember, like since 2007. And then in the last few years, I ended up just watching the Red Zone channel. And I think you can get the Red Zone channel on its own now. It kind of fits all my needs. Seahawks aren't doing particularly great. I get to see them when they're in the red zone, which isn't that often. So, yeah, interesting. Check out the Red Zone if you don't want to do the entire Sunday ticket. What the F is going on? What do you mean, Voltron? We are in the King's Court. We're actually getting ready to discuss some heavier subject matter here in a second, but I think it's going to be a pretty damn good deep dive because we had a good conversation about it, and it's a tragic situation. It's the situation involving the CrossFit Games and the death of Serbian athlete Lazar Dukic. So we're going to get into that in a second. We Chucky back first off. Huh? We Chucky back first off. Let me see if I can make sense of that.
That don't make no sense.
Yeah, it don't make no sense. My bad. Warranty, what's that? I'm just asking in general warranties. Raider Kings, it's what we is. All right, Voltron, you're having a good day. All right, Voltron, making an argument for the Malik Monk jersey, yeah? So, yeah, if you are just joining us here on the King's Court, we have hit 1,000 followers on the X, which means tomorrow, 2 p.m., we are going to be giving away the signed Malik Monk jersey compliments of True Sports and Collectibles out in Rockland and Roseville. Make sure you are here tomorrow for a chance to win. Be doing a little contest. And you know what's so hard about doing contests these days is the internet. I could ask you guys obscure Kings questions. I could try to play something. You could capture the audio and do a Google search. You can look up the answers. So I've got a couple ideas of what I'm going to do. It's not the 12 by 12. It's not a spicy challenge, but we will have a winner tomorrow. You got to be present to win. And a huge thank you, by the way, I haven't said that yet, to all of you for helping us hit 1,000 here on the King's Court on the X page. And we are really turning the corner into the best time of the year. I feel like we say that a couple times in a calendar year when it comes to sports, but we're coming down the stretch in baseball, football, getting ready to open up just a couple weeks away from this weekend, 2 weeks away from NFL football that actually means something. And then the Kings, before you know it, and if you are new to, if you don't like that, you're new to the King's Court, when it comes to the Kings season and NBA coverage here in Sacramento, this is the place that you want to be. We cover it wall to wall, including Kings pregame shows, halftime shows. Last year at halftime, we had Jerry Reynolds for almost every single halftime show. And then Grant and I wrap every game up with a post-game show. During the week, we also have a weekly show with Jerry where we go over everything that's going on with the Kings and the NBA. And then we also get some football in there for you too. Sean Salisbury, Grant announced it last night, will be joining If You Don't Like That again. And we're looking to choose the day. Grant is leaning towards Tuesdays. So Sean hopefully will be able to work it out on Tuesdays. Yes, Alberto, that's exactly what we're talking about. Sean will be back this season. We're trying to hammer the day down. We are leaning towards Tuesdays because if we do Tuesdays, then you get Monday. We can talk about the Monday Night Football game. And then as the season goes on, we can preview like your Thanksgiving Day games where you have multiple games on a Thursday. Thursday night games usually seem to mean a little bit more as the season goes along. So Tuesdays seem to be the day, but Sean Salisbury will be back with us. We're very much looking forward to that. And by the way, wanted to let everybody know we sent Jerry on behalf of all of you who tune into the King's Court and myself. We sent Jerry a nice little thank you for joining us every Tuesday here on the King's Court. He is going to be off to get some chicken and dumplings on us. So again, if you are new to the channel, Jerry Reynolds every Tuesday right here on the King's Court. Yuck, $700 for subpar quarterback play. I mean, depends on what team you're watching. Corn dog. Is this the real corn dog? Corn dog? Yes. Now, I'm probably not. You're going to have sub-R play the first couple weeks because guys don't play in the preseason for the most part. But that's something you can pencil in. But the rest of the year, the football is usually pretty good. And, I'm not trying to get on the Caleb Williams bandwagon, but the kid is looking pretty damn good with his legs. He is getting himself out of some situations. And, I'm not ready to go there like some people calling him the next Mahomes and all that, but that Chicago team, I know that every team that participates with Hard Knocks gets that rub. They get that extra run where it's like, oh, you know what? They might be the team this year, but Chicago just looks a little bit different. They just seem like they're beaten to a different drum, and I like it. Alberto, don't forget to like the video, guys. The only like, please, thank you. Please like, please subscribe. If you're watching, we've got 118 that have checked in at some point. If you're on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. If you are on the X, please give us a like. Give us a retweet. We would appreciate it. We always like to hear from you in the chat. And then also, you can call the show as well. I'll put the link right back here in the chat if you would like to get on and talk a little, whatever you want to talk. Kings, NFL, really no news to report with the 49ers, and Brandon Ayuk seems to be pretty much at the same spot. Trent Williams, by the way, still at the same spot as of the time of us going to air, but expect for Trent to get done. Brandon Ayuk, there's some different reports out there. Some people that are in the know are saying that Ayuk could be traded on September. It's a very specific day. It's like September 7th, which seems a little bit weird. And others, such as Adam Schefter, suggesting that the Niners are close to getting something done with Brandon Ayuk. All right, we're going to get ready to get into our main story of the day, which is Lazar Dukic and the CrossFit tragedy. But first, I want to remind you that we are brought to you by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Bennett's has 3 different locations throughout Northern California. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com to check them all out. You can also see their wonderful specials, and I mean wonderful. They have some amazing deals when it comes to brunch, when it comes to dinner. In fact, Monday nights, you can get a bottle of wine and 2 entrees for $69. You know about the weekend brunch, 2 entrees, bottle of champagne, $49. Really hard to beat. And if you have never had one of Bennett's steaks or one of their excellent cuts of fresh fish, love the redfish there, you have got to go give it a try. It will make you a believer. I can promise you that. Huge thanks to Brian and the entire team over at Bennett's. And a huge thanks to all of you, by the way, who have been frequenting Bennett's and letting them know that you heard about them here on the channel. By the way, if you make it out to Bennett's, or I should say when you make it out to Bennett's, hit Grant and I up on the X. We will retweet it. We love to see that support. Brian Bennett also loves to see that as well. That is Bennett's Westside Grill, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center in Rockland. All right. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about a tragedy at the CrossFit Games. It was the first event of the 2024 CrossFit Games. And if you're not familiar with CrossFit, it is I call it a lifestyle, but it is a association. It is a form of working out that is basically franchised out to different gym owners that can use the quote unquote CrossFit name and their workout programs. But every year they have the annual CrossFit Games, where the best of the best come together from around the world to find out who is the fittest on earth. Very much like the US Open in golf when it comes to qualifying. You can qualify through your regional gym and then up through sectionals and at state and then get to the main games. But a lot of these athletes, this is a lifestyle for them. They are all very close. They know each other very well. And again, I want to reinforce tip-top shape athletes, top level athletes. Now, getting back to what happened at the CrossFit Games, it was event number 1, which included a run and a swim. The games were being held in Texas, and it was a little bit hot that day, but it was early in the morning. And one of the competitors, Lazar Dukic, one of the male competitors, was on his swim very, very close to the finish line. and he ended up going missing. He went missing in the water. Now, it was being broadcasted live on ESPN Plus. They were also going to be re-airing portions of the games on ESPN2. The people watching live on ESPN Plus ended up seeing Lazar struggling in the water. And you couldn't help but notice there were two, and we don't know if they were lifeguards yet. We don't know if they were volunteers, but there were two individuals on paddle boards on each side of Lazar, spread out by maybe about 40 yards on each side. And I'm estimating, I don't have the exact measurements of how far they were away, but people on TV saw Lazar go under the water, and then the broadcast cut off. The broadcast just cut. And it took about 30 minutes, believe it or not, 30 minutes until everyone, the game's organizers, some of the athletes realized that an athlete was missing. The police were called out. Fire and rescue was called out. Eventually, nearly an hour later, Lazar's body was found in the lake. Now, that day, the CrossFit Games for that day, which was the first day of competition, they were suspended as an investigation was going on. CrossFit that morning issued a statement. Here is the statement that was issued that morning at the press conference, notifying everybody of the tragedy that had happened at the games.
CrossFit is deeply saddened by the death of one of our athletes during the swim portion of our event this morning. We're doing everything in our power during this tragic time to support the family, to support our community. We are collaborating, working very closely with the authorities on the follow-on investigation. We've canceled the rest of today's events and activities in the CrossFit Games, and we'll continue to be focused on supporting our community and the family through this tragic set of circumstances.
So, there was a meeting held later that day where it was ultimately decided between representatives from the athletes, from the coaches, and so forth, that the games would go on the next day. Just to give you an idea about how big CrossFit is, it's estimated at a $4.5 billion business. It was created by Dave Castro, who is, and Dorian really had a great call last week about this. Dorian pointed this out. He was a Navy SEAL, and some of these events in CrossFit really for elite athletes, it tests their limits. I mean, it takes them to the brink. Many of the events in the CrossFit Games, it is not uncommon to see athletes not finish an event. So, getting back to the CrossFit Games, they went on Saturday, Sunday. A winner was crowned. Many felt that the tributes to Lazar Dukic, who also had a brother competing at the CrossFit Games, they felt the tributes could have been more. They were subpar. They thought more should have been done. And so this big cloud, this big question began hanging over CrossFit. Why did the lifeguards or the volunteers not see the athletes struggling in the water? Why did CrossFit not notice that an athlete had been missing for 30 minutes, especially when it was a water event? And there were some athletes that ended up pulling out of the CrossFit Games. Some continued. Brent Fipowski ended up, and he is an 8-time CrossFit Games competitor. He's hit the podium 3 times, including hitting the podium in these CrossFit Games that we are talking about. And since then, there's been a little bit of a veil of silence. There hasn't been a lot of information coming out. Certainly those in the CrossFit world have been giving updates as they have gotten them, but the police are doing an investigation, as are CrossFit. And that's kind of where we stand with a tragic death of an athlete. Well, just this week, Brent ended up going, which shocked everybody. He published an article in Men's Health. And I want to remind you, Brent Fapowski is one of the top names in CrossFit, one of the top names. And he is also fighting a little bit back against the system. There's been these calls that CrossFit might be a little bit too dangerous, a little bit too edgy, that maybe safety isn't always at the forefront for the athletes. In fact, it's commonly known that the athletes coming into the CrossFit Games, they don't know what events are going to be held at the CrossFit Games, and they only learn of the event the morning of the event. They're prepped on it. They have demonstrations. They're shown what's going to happen, what is asked of them, or what will be asked of them. And then they're given a small amount of time before the event begins, and it's go time. So some of those things have not always sat well with certain athletes. But going back to Brent, he published an article in Men's Health magazine entitled, "My Friend Died at the CrossFit Games. Now we demand change." This is Brent's words. "The nature and foundation of our sport and what makes our sport unique is that we don't know what we're going to do. You sign up for a competition at every level, and there's a level of mystery when it comes to what events you're going to compete in. Sometimes you know about those a week or two in advance. Sometimes you know about them an hour in advance. And there's an assumption that if something went wrong, we would be saved. We would be saved. We were wrong." So that's the fundamental breaking of trust. If you look back at my Instagram post a few weeks ago, it's clear to see that the trust in a lot of other areas was thin. We've spoken with athletes that have competed at different CrossFit competitions over the years, and many have stories that mirror the interactions that I've had with the staff at CrossFit Inc. Unfortunately, it's a tale as old as time in many sports, where those that hold the power and organize the events treat athletes as disposable. Oh, this is a quote. "Oh, if you don't like it, someone else will take your place. You're lucky to be here." End quote. It's a very common attitude. And that's why athlete associations or athlete unions are formed to look out for the best interest of the athletes. CrossFit Inc.'s response over the past 4 years has been mixed at best, but often dismissive. Quote, "We know better." End quote. It's just a general sentiment and common tone. And then it's a pattern of behavior of not listening to concerns. No one on that team has competed at a high level or coached at a high level in this sport, and many of them haven't competed at any sport at any level. So there's a desire for us to have our experiences and our understandings of this sport that is very new and that has changed a lot in 10 to 15 years as to the caliber of the athletes and how we train, and trying to get that voice into the room where decisions are being made. What are we doing now with those demands? This is the worst possible scenario. We've always sought to engage with CrossFit in a very professional manner, create clear lines of communication, keep things private, create systems together, work collaboratively. Having to bring this out into the public is the end result of years of this systematic behavior and unwillingness to engage. This statement and these 3 demands This is the beginning. We say more must be done to change the cultural strategic direction of the sport, and that's very important. We emphasized that as we prepared this statement and spoke with multiple athletes, and that was something they wanted to drive home. It cannot just be, quote, hey, there are these 3 demands, end quote, and they abide by them. And both sides go back to operating as we did in prior years. That is not our expectation. This is going to be part of a continued effort to force for some very large change in the coming weeks and months. Discussions about athletes leaving CrossFit are taking place. When most of the athletes that we help represent are asked, what do you do? They'll say, I'm a CrossFit athlete. So that word, that name association, that brand still has value to us, and we're not here to try to destroy that brand. That's not our intent of these demands. We want to save the brand. That, to me, is super powerful. We want to save the brand. However, we believe that there are individuals that work at CrossFit, and there is a culture there that needs a very large shift. That is our perception, and it's a perception held by not just athletes, but many others that are involved in this industry. So we're looking for options where there's a future that we can involve the brand and involve the word CrossFit, but we're also looking for options that do not, if that's what it comes to. In CrossFit, or if CrossFit Inc. feels that the director of the CrossFit Games, Dave Castro, has a role in in affiliates and training, they're welcome to keep him in that role. He goes on to make some demands about what he wants to be seen with the training programs with Dave Castro. Again, Dave Castro, a past Navy SEAL. So does that play into this culture of CrossFit? Very possibly so. And I think that's kind of what Brent's trying to get to. He says, we want a sport where there's an expectation that they want you to push hard. We want you to go as fast as possible, and we're going to create a safe environment for you to do that. And if maybe you get overheated, or if you start struggling in the water, we're going to be here for you. Crazy. If you tear your hands, we're going to have somebody there to help patch you up. That's the expectation. And it feels like the lowest expectations that we could ask for this competition. We're not asking for free snacks, right? The next level to that is we want to figure out who is the best. You don't need to hurt us or put us through more than is necessary to sort us from first to last. We don't need to do 10,000 reps when 1,000 reps would be appropriate. Lazar had a great sense of humor. That's what always stuck out for me. Big smile, always talking trash in the best way. We needed a European representative for the PFAA. So I sort of roped him into it. He was happy to do it. I think it stemmed from Lazar and his brother Luca, who was also at the games, by the way, also at the games. His brother Luca, they wanted competing in this sport to be their primary source of income. They would compete as frequently or more frequently than most other men at their level. They'd travel around Europe and do competitions. And the longer you compete, the more you see. A lot of times the culture of how competitive organizers treat athletes is mirrored by how CrossFit even portrays it in their media. It's this quote, "Hey, if you don't like it, leave," end quote, attitude. But Lazar is a friend and is a very good athlete, but Lazar was a friend and a very good athlete. He was one of the few athletes that would come up to my coach and genuinely have a conversation with him. It wasn't just hi, bye. It was genuine. I always wanted to spend more time with him. It's hard when you're competing. I always thought that I'd get to spend more time with him when I was done competing. It's hard now that he's gone. So Brent lays out, in my opinion, a culture, an atmosphere, a case of really CrossFit. I don't want to say like the Hunger Games, but the mindset that Brent's trying to paint here is that they've got an arena and we're going to do it the way we want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're replaceable. And I guess what really strikes me is the level of fitness that guys like Brent have. He's finished on the podium 3 times at the CrossFit Games. 3 times. 3 times. He's competed in 8 games. And to talk about being pushed to that limit, which is good. We talked about this last night. You do need to be pushed, but I can confidently say in my entire life of playing sports, I've never been pushed to the point where I was worried about my safety, and it seems to be that that's somewhat of a culture thing. That's somewhat of a lifestyle if you are a CrossFit athlete. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of money in this. I said CrossFit is valued at $4.5 billion. But on the flip side, CrossFit is only as good as its athletes. If nobody wants to do your program, if nobody has respect for your program, if people think your program is a danger, why would you pay a fee to be a part of it? They're not going to. And so if what I'm reading from Brent, which is directly from him in Men's Health, it seems, I want to say this carefully. It seems like CrossFit doesn't care. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like CrossFit does not care. So what will come of Lazar's death? Obviously, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of optimism from Brent. And, usually when events like this happen, we see change, right? Think about, I'm not going to use a death here as an example, but think about the Malice at the Palace, right? You remember the Pacers, the Pistons? You remember what happened after the Malice at the Palace? Every single NBA tunnel, which went from the locker room to the court, had a cover over it, for better or for worse. There was a change. The NBA did something to protect its players. So, pending the outcome of this investigation, and again, I'm going to replay the statement from CrossFit the day that Lazar died, because when I first saw the statement and I first heard the statement, it felt a little cold to me. It really did. It threw me for a curve. And reading Brent's words, and you guys heard them, I read them to you. Let's listen to CrossFit's statement, knowing Brent's side of the story.
CrossFit is deeply saddened by the death of one of our athletes during the swim portion of our event this morning. We're doing everything in our power during this tragic time to support the family, to support our community. We are collaborating, working very closely with the authorities on the follow-on investigation. We've canceled the rest of today's events and activities in the CrossFit Games, and we'll continue to be focused on supporting our community and the family through this tragic set of circumstances.
So that was the statement from CrossFit again after Lazar passed away. And you know what? I don't want to pass judgment on it because we've all been in that fog. If you've had somebody pass away, if something shocking, tragic has happened, you've seen something tough. So what I do know is it at least seems like maybe there should be some room, or at the very minimum, an area of wiggle room for the athletes and for CrossFit to get together. Because I go back to this, CrossFit is walking a very thin line. CrossFit is not proprietary. It is a name. Brent said that right there. This seems like, and what I came away reading from Brent is this is the line in the sand. It is time to come to the table. We want to use your name. We want to be a part of your organization, but we've got a couple of requests, and we don't know the full story of what happened. That is what's most important. We are still awaiting the outcome of the investigations from both the authorities and also from CrossFit, who is apparently having an independent investigation conducted. So once those come out, it's another time to revisit this question. But certainly at the very minimum, I think you're going to be hearing CrossFit's name a lot. I think you're going to probably see this end up in a courtroom at some point if it hasn't already. So at the end of the day, an athlete, and that's what kind of caught me as I was reading it and why I stopped. Somebody lost their life, and their brother was right there. And they were both doing something that they both loved. I've told the story here on this show. Down at San Diego State, we would commonly go to the student gym. We called it the rec center, right? If we were in the off season or we had extra time, or if it was the summer, whatever, some of us would get together and we'd go play at the rec center. And it became like a thing where a lot of the students would, and that's all we were too. We were just students, but they'd want to play against us. And we would have waits of 4, 5, 6 games, teams waiting to get on the court to play us, because whoever stays on the court wins, but we were winning. So anyways, one of the students was waiting to play. He was shooting on the court that was just over from us, because there was 2 courts on each side of the gym, and his game came up, and he was just laying under the hoop. And we're like, hey, ball up. Come on, you're up. And he just laid there. And so somebody's like, oh, he looks blue. And so we ran over, and sure enough, he was blue. And I'm not going to go into the details from there, but he had suffered a cardiac event and he died. He ended up dying. And I never knew the kid. What I did know was he was my age doing something that I loved. He passed away on a basketball court. Basketball was outside of my family, my everything then. And you can't help, you're human, but put yourself in those shoes. Our entire team went to his funeral, and we saw his family grieving. We saw his girlfriend put a rose on his coffin, and it screwed a lot of us up. And so we stayed in really close contact with his family, and he was a big part of our season. His family was that year. But I go back to this situation, Lazar, that's your brother. You guys are both competing in the games. So I found it an incredible statement by Brent Fipowski, and a courageous statement to publish that in Men's Health, to stand up to the machine. And this is one of those classic arguments that's as old as day. We talk about WWE all the time here. Adam comes in on Fridays and we do our Royal Rumble segment and break down what's going on in the squared circle, right, LA? Yeah. But one of the big arguments there for a really long time, and even the UFC to a degree, has been unions. Should there be unions for the wrestlers? Should there be unions for the UFC fighters? And, wrestling promotions have pushed back against that. The UFC has pushed back against that. Certainly that is where this seems to be with CrossFit. And unfortunately, it didn't seem like the athletes were getting much leverage whatsoever, and it took the passing of somebody to get them a seat at the table to have this discussion. So as I said, it is an ongoing investigation, both on CrossFit side and the authorities, and we will keep you up to date. You can go to Men's Health if you want to read more on Brent, and there's also another article from Brent where he talks more about the organization that they have created and some of their further concerns about CrossFit. All right, let's get back to the chat, and rest in peace, Lazar. Man, hey, Baki, by the way, he was, I think I could share this without breaking any confidentiality. Baki was pissed about this situation. He hit me up via DM, and he had no idea that we had talked about it on the show already. And you guys know Baki. Baki's like watching every show, watching every sport. But, that Serbian sports community is very tight-knit, incredibly close-knit. So anyways, thanks for sticking through that with me. I know that's a little bit of a heavy subject, but I felt it was necessary, especially because we had talked about it before, and it has been an ongoing conversation here on the show since it happened. If you're just joining us, by the way, thank you all. We have hit 1,000 followers on the X, which means tomorrow we are giving away the Malik Monk signed jersey courtesy of True Sports Cards and Collectibles out in Rockland. You got to tune in. Be here tomorrow for your chance to win that Malik Monk signed jersey. We will be giving it away tomorrow. The winner can go directly out to True Sports to pick that up. So looking forward to giving that away. And a big thanks to all of you. Corn Dog kicking us back off in the conversation. I turned to volleyball because of these garbage QBs. Get out of here, Corn Dog. We all know why you turned to volleyball, my man. I'm not buying it, Corn Dog. You turned to volleyball because of the sport, Corn Dog? You going to stick with that story, Corn Dog? Come defend yourself, Corn Dog. The link is on the screen. MC, what's up? How you doing, my man? Thank you. Please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. If you're watching on the X, give us a like and or a retweet. I would really appreciate it. MC, hopping into the conversation. I didn't see a swimmer, him, go under on the video. I've seen it, but was probably cropped. So, MC, it's really difficult to see. And a lot of the early versions got scrubbed off the internet. I actually had the video on my computer. I'm not going to play it on this show, but what I would tell you is if you go to that, it's about a 30 or 40 second reel, MC, that has been out there. See people starting to cross the finish line. There's this really faint, there's two faint water circles that are at the very, very top of the screen. And it's the one to the left that was Lazar, almost very much at the top. And in fact, if you look at a still photo of it, I may still have the photo. It's not graphic. I'd be fine showing it. It shows you exactly, MC, where he was at relative to the two people on Skinboard, or what are they called now? these days? Paddle boards? Is that what it is? Appreciate it, my brother. I got to get your stuff to you, MC. MC, I will make you this promise, and I will tweet you the pic. I can't tweet you the picture. I will DM you the picture because that will not be public. That stuff's going out tomorrow before the show. So I just got to get on my butt and do that. Alberto, yes, very much brutal. BJ, get on him, right? Corn Dog, why would you change your name?
That don't make no sense.
No, it doesn't, Corn Dog. Furious Wolf, 4.5 billion. Wow. Yeah, I was shocked by that too. The global CrossFit market size was valued at 4.5 billion in 2022. The CrossFit market is expected to grow at a CAGR of 7.2% from 2023 to 2030. So it is only going up, but who knows after this situation. So let's see. Bottom line, getting in the black is all that matters. What are you talking about, dude? I don't know what that means. John, that's one of the strangest stories I've ever heard. Bizarre in how it was handled. A lot of the athletes, I want to go back to this. So many of the athletes that weekend, they were not pleased with how the tribute was handled to Lazar. They felt it was very minimal. They felt like it could have been more. There were athletes that did not want the games to continue, but they gave the athletes the choice to withdraw for a day and come back into the competition. Some took advantage of that. But, you know, I'm one of those people, and I want to be transparent. Lazar's brother, Luca, wanted the games to go on. So there is some weight to that. I respect that. Some of us, you know, that is how you pay tribute. That is what's healthy for you. That's what's healthy for those around you if you experience a loss, to keep doing what you're doing. I mean, think about Brett Favre in the game he played in Oakland after his father passed away. One of the most memorable games that he's been a part of. So if Luca's brother wanted it to continue, I have no problem with that. But I feel like I'm with the athletes here. More could have been done in terms of a tribute. BJ, 4.5 billion is unbelievable. Sad story. It's up to CrossFit to make this better by changing the culture. Starts at the top. Somebody is responsible. There needs to be an outside party investigation. Well, you know, BJ, the analogy that I used was, and the part of this story that a lot of people had a problem with was the fact that it was 30 minutes later, 30 minutes after the race, until they noticed that somebody was missing. And the analogy I used was the Olympics. Anytime somebody's in the pool, there is somebody standing right there, a dedicated, and granted, they are not lifeguards. They are not there for the athlete's safety. They're judges, but you have two eyes for every athlete in the water. And that didn't seem to be the case here. So there's also multiple, and I've watched a few of them. There's multiple documentaries out there on Amazon Prime that go through many. I think it features 5 or 6 of the top athletes in the CrossFit Games, but it goes through their weekend in the CrossFit Games, follows them around. It's a documentary style. And what Brent said is very true. CrossFit is not providing you like food. They're not providing you training. You have to bring in your own people. You have to bring in your own coaches. Now they'll have like the cold plunges and the stuff like that for you to jump into. So certainly I can see where Brent's saying that. And again, go watch the documentaries. You can see it firsthand from some of the top competitors in that sport. And that sport's been going on for a lot longer than many people realized. All right. I think somebody, you know what? I am so glad that this guy is calling. Baki is calling up. Hopefully we can have a good conversation about this. I would love to get really Serbia. What's Serbia think about this entire tragedy? Baki, welcome into the show.
Hey, Rhino. since that happened, and since we had those messages last time, you remember when I was, as you said, pissed off. I didn't watch anything about it. It was too scary for me. It was too tragic. I was very sad about all this, especially because one part of my life was that lifeguarding, if I can say like that. I was a part of doing that kind of job. We had a special education about saving people from the drowning and everything about it, because my faculty of sport and everything that goes with it. So uh, maybe I'm not great for the conversation you want to have right now, what happened after, but I would like to share with you something which is on my mind about
Yeah.
because if you ask me and everybody in that kind of story, it's absolutely you can have people who is watching. Okay, I'm gonna ask you now. Are those people watching it from the boards? Are those professional lifeguards? Are those only volunteers? Who were they? If
I
you
have
if
no
you have
idea.
that information, I would appreciate if you share. So
Yeah, I have
okay,
no Baki. I have
I
no
didn't
idea
I
if they're
didn't research. I
lifeguards,
didn't search
volunteers.
for it. Yeah, I didn't search for it. Uh, I told you because I was very sensitive about it, because you lost you didn't lost somebody who felt in the water. You lost a sportsman who was fighting for something, for the spirit of the sport, and some and you had the guys watching and caring about it and doing nothing. I didn't spot. Okay, I'm never gonna say uh, they will let somebody drown and die like that if they spot. It's obviously
Yeah.
they don't know how to do that job properly, and that's my point about all of the happening on Texas Lake. So how can you have this is not the event which is like some street event, what I'm trying to say is it's a big event. It's crowded. It's in the papers, on the TV, everywhere.
Yeah.
So
There was like
uh,
20,000
for
people there
yeah,
live.
so how can you have guys? Never mind volunteers or professional. How can you have guys who can sleep like that? I mean, this is for me something ridiculous. It's easy later if you're gonna quit somebody's. I mean, you're gonna fire somebody, or I don't know what happened with the director, with the all the organization board, or what happened. Anyway, later it's not important. Young guy is over, and that's all we need now is to care. If I don't know if that those games should be regular from now and forever. Okay, I'm not against it. Why not? It's great idea. It's something great, but uh, cover it like that, and having the people who should be I mean, this must not happen ever.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
unbelievable. I mean, uh, uh, we're speaking here about familiar territory. I mean, USA is nothing but swimming championship country. uh, if you're gonna drown, you're gonna drown everywhere, but not in the USA like that, in the championship of that kind, if you understand me. So I don't know what happened. This is absolutely, for me, I cannot understand.
So here's what I do know, Baki. CrossFit, because I grew up with somebody that used to own a gym. The CrossFit games have an incredible number of volunteers. In fact, the games rely heavily on the volunteers because there's so much equipment that has to be moved around, so much judging. So I don't know if it was a volunteer or not on the paddleboard, but I'm with you.
I agree. Sorry.
Somebody needs if there was negligence here, regardless of how Lazar passed away, let's say that he had, and this is pure speculation, let's say Lazar had a heart attack or some type of cardiac event. Regardless of that cardiac event, there should have been eyeballs on any athlete that's under the water and not coming up, or anybody that appears to be struggling. And Baki, the one group that I don't blame whatsoever, the athletes. When you're in the heat of the moment and you're competing, you are laser in focus. You're not looking around at other people. You're worrying about yourself. So anybody that says the athlete should have stopped, no, it's not fair to say.
Okay, you said even if they spotted in just in time, it doesn't mean they could have helped him. It doesn't mean at all. So maybe the guy would die anyway. But
Right.
but you lost him for 30 minutes. You lost him.
Right.
You shouldn't lost him even for the second. Okay, I am with the volunteers. I do a lot of tennis and a lot of other sports and a lot of competitions like that. I sometimes I used to participate in the athletes when they had a qualifying for the faculty of sport. So a lot of those people from which are volunteers, and it's okay. You can have 90% of volunteers, 98% of volunteers, but when it comes to life support, you can't have somebody who doesn't know how to help the swimmer and or pull it out. Even if you have, okay, let's imagine that guy had some issue with the heart or whatever it is. He's gonna start drowning, and when you're gonna start drowning, you're gonna do some unpredictable things in the water. So if you jump in the water to help him, you should be very, very careful, and you must have great knowledge about how to help his life, because you're gonna sink first, then he's gonna sink if you're not good enough, if you're not the professional who will save his life out of water.
Right.
That's the, I mean, that's something must too. So you must have no any of those volunteers on the boards. You must have great professional guys on the boards who's gonna spot not only every guy in the water, but every slap of the water, every swing.
Spot on, Baki. I completely agree with you. And I think that's what we're waiting for with the investigation. It's what were CrossFit's protocols for. You would guess that an organization that's running a worldwide event that's on national television, if not worldwide television, company worth $4.5 billion reportedly, that there's protocols for all these things, right, Bach? So that's where the investigation is going to come out, and I hope that's what they're looking into. And if the protocols were in place and this was just, negligence on behalf of one of the employees, and that's what it'll point to when we move forward. But if it's something bigger than that, there is not a lot of room for negotiation. There needs to be big change.
The problem is whenever I spot something, some competitions in sport or not only in sport, whatever it is, which are some sort of bad organized or some sort of with the issues or whatever, I always say, okay, you should see how they do in the USA. So you should see how the organization goes, because on the top is something which is organized in the USA, especially with the swimming and those massive events. So this is a crazy. I don't know what to say. This is something unbelievable to happen in.
Baki, what's been the
States.
reaction in Serbia to this?
I told you, I absolutely stop seeing anything about it. Uh, I don't know what happened on the television. Or was there any documentary or anything, any news about it? I didn't see anything. It was in the time when I was in Greece on my vacations. It was I was absolutely out of it the moment you are the last person I commentate about it.
Got it.
After those messages you got from me, I stopped and I didn't watch a single word.
Got it. Very good. Very good. Well, dude,
I mean,
great.
I mean, it's painful to watch anything more than that. I'm a sportsman. He was a sportsman. He was a great looking athlete and great looking sportsman.
Incredible shape.
He's not there like a swimmer beginner. He's a sportsman. He did it. He practiced for it. He prepared for it. He did everything.
Baki,
So,
he swam twice a week.
of
Every
course,
week.
of
Never
course,
took
of
a week
course.
off.
Of
Yeah.
course, it's definitely something with his health. It's nothing about. So they are talking about cramps. Come on, this is bullshit. If you ask me, cramps. We know how to deal with the cramps in the water. It's very easy for somebody who is educated about it. So the cramps are only dangerous for people who are very bad swimmers and were on the sea in the deep water and when they panic and blah blah blah. But for those swimmers to have cramps and to have that problems and to drown with the cramps, no, absolutely not. I can bet my life. It was only a heart or some body issue or something about health which is deeper for analyze.
Well, we'll wait for the investigations to come out. I appreciate the call and the context, Baki, and I'm sorry for the lot. It sucks. I paused mid article. It's just hard to fathom. It's really hard to think about.
Yes, it is. It is.
So,
That's why I skipped. So
no doubt. All
what
right,
happened
brother.
happened.
Join
Okay,
us.
brother.
Join us again at 8 if you can. We'll be back.
I'll try. I'll
All
do my
right.
best.
Thanks, buddy. That is Baki. Really good context there. Hate to have him on under these circumstances, but always incredible to talk to him. All right. I know it's been a little bit of a heavier show. Adam's talking about the money. Thank you, BJ. I appreciate that. You guys notice how Corn Dog didn't show up to defend his volleyball take? Yeah. Gotcha. Corn Dog. No, I'm just kidding, buddy. Appreciate all you again. Thank you so much. We hit 1,000 followers tomorrow, giving away the Malik Monk signed jersey. Be here at 2:00. Looking forward to it very much. James, you know what? I feel really bad. I have seen your question 3 or 4 times now. Like you sent it once a show, the past 3 or 4 shows when I've been on with Grant, and Grant has not gone to it. Grant's going to make his prediction next week, or I think the week before the games start is when he's going to make his prediction. I think I'm going to make mine with his. However, I will say this. I will give you a hint. I think the Super Bowl winner is coming out of the NFC. So that's, as I sit today, I'm leaning towards the NFC, which sounds crazy. I'm the guy that said, do not bet against Patrick Mahomes, but we will get those predictions in and more. And by the way, we are back at 8:00 tonight. Grant and Rhino, open forum. Looking forward to that. Thank you all so much for a great show. Appreciate everyone. And again, thanks for getting us to 1,000 followers on the X. We are well on our way to basketball season. If you didn't hear me yesterday, let's get some Kings in to end this really quick. Strength of schedules. I talked about this yesterday. All but 2 teams in the Pacific Division are in the top 5 of hardest schedules this season in the NBA. The 2 teams that are not, the Los Angeles Lakers and your Sacramento Kings. So we said the Kings schedule looks hard. We know it's going to be tough. You heard Jerry's reaction to it yesterday, but everybody, Phoenix, Golden State, the Clippers, all 3 of them in the top 5 when it comes to hardest schedules this year in the NBA.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
Join us tomorrow here on the King's Court. Your chance to win the autographed Malik Monk jersey, compliments of True Sports Cards and Collectibles. Huge thanks to Emran and all of them out there. And make sure, back here tonight, 8 o'clock, Grant and Ryan, open forum Wednesday. Take the show wherever you want. James, hey, James, if you ask that question during open forum, James, Grant can't ignore it. He might be able to duck it and tell you he's going to wait till next week. But bring that question back. Maybe even I'll answer it. I'll push him into it, James. I know you want that answer bad. So, all right, go Kings. Light the damn beam. Be here tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Malik Monk autographed jersey. See you tonight, 8 o'clock. Grant and Ryan. Court is dismissed.